Dr. Issa Imoro. I am a native of Bawku, someone who has been talking on the issues surrounding the Bawku conflict and how we can get a very good resolution to the problem. The brief history of the Bawku conflict can be looked at from the perspectives of the pre-colonial history, then the colonial history, then post-independence. This is how you can structure the history of Bawku and then understand the current problem. So in terms of the pre-colonial history, that is before the existence of the white man in Ghana here, was there Bawku? How was the area? That is one. Two, when the white man came, how was the place? And then three, after the white man left, how was the place? And most people or most historians usually, they don't take their time to look at these three perspectives. They sometimes over-rely on one, and at the end, they get it wrong. So I'll start first with the pre-colonial history to give you as a very good background to what the problem is. Bawku is a town that is located in the northeast corner of Ghana. And in pre-colonial times, that is around the 13th century, there existed a great king called Nagbewa. That is around the 13th century. He's the one who founded what is now called the Mole Dagbani Kingdom. And when Nagbewa founded his kingdom, there was nothing like Kusasis around there. Nagbewa is the ancestor of the Mamprusies, the Dagumbes, the Moshis, and then the Nanumbes. And then there are other subsets like the Wadas and then several other groups. This history is around the 13th to the 14th century. That is when Nagbewa established himself in a town called Pusiga. Pusiga is about 14 kilometers from Bawku town itself. So Nagbewa established his kingdom there, and his kingdom was very vast. After the demise of Nagbewa, his children had some disagreements, and then some moved and left Pusiga, which is the Bawku area. The Nayere by then, or the first Nayere, is called Tosugu. Some call him Togo. He is the founder of the Mamprusi kingdom. He established the Mamprusi kingdom after his father Nagbewa passed on. Then Shitobu also established the Dagon kingdom. Then Mantambo also established the Nanumba kingdom. Then their sister also established the Moshi kingdom. This is the beginning. So when Nagbewa passed on, his son who took over from him was Tonsugu. And Tonsugu had moved the capital from Pusiga to Gambaga. But we need to pay attention to this fact. Tonsugu still maintained authority over the ancestral home, which is Pusiga, surrounded by Bawku and then other areas. Now Tonsugu was still in Gambaga, but he still maintained authority in Pusiga and then Bawku and then the surrounding areas. In fact, now Tonsugu enskined someone called the Tingurana to take care of the ancestral home. And that person today is what is popularly known as the Pusiga Naba. Initially the title was called Tingurana. That tells you that the authority to take over the place or taking care of the place was under the authority of the Nayere of Mamprusi, which is Tonsugu. It didn't also end in Pusiga and then Bawku. It extended as far as to Burkina in the north. And then other areas as far as to the west, which is the Bongo areas. So this is the history as far as the 13th to the 14th century is concerned. Bawku and then its environs has been from the inception under the authority of the Mamprusi Kingdom, especially after the demise of Nagbewa. And this fact is corroborated by several evidences, from Sime to Ratray to a lot of the evidences that talk about how Bawku Precolonial was in the arms of the Nayere of Mamprusi. Then again, before the colonial authorities arrived in Bawku or in Ghana, the Nayere, the 10th Nayere, who goes by the name Na Atabia, founded the Bawku Township, and also 5 other towns called Sinimbaga, Binduri, Tanga, Teshi, and Worikambo. He founded these towns purposely because the Bisses who lived around Bitu is in present day Burkina Faso, who lived in Bitu and in Mognoro areas, they used to interrupt the trade routes from Tenkodogo to Gambaga. So he established these towns to make sure that the passage was very clear. And one thing everybody would understand is that if you don't own a land, you have no business even going there to set up, these towns to make sure that the trade route was clear. It was because the Nayere was in charge of these areas, which were largely uninhabited, because the Bisa incursions were occurring around Bitu and in the Mognoro areas. So Bawku was founded. That is around the 17th century. And when Bawku was founded, the first chief of Bawku is called Nayele, that is the son of Na Atabia. This fact is captured in almost all the historical evidences. You see them stated. The first chief of Bawku is Nayele, the son of Na Atabia, the 10th Nayere. That is how Bawku was founded. And Bawku is a Mamprusi word. This fact is also captured in all the historical evidences. Bawku is a Mamprusi word which means a valley or a depression. This is captured in Sime's book. That is just to tell you that the town was founded by the Mamprusies. This piece of evidence, together with the founding of the Mole Dagbani Kingdom by Nagbewa, makes it abundantly clear that the entire area is under the jurisdiction of the Mamprusi Kingdom. So Bawku was founded by Nayele, who was the son of the 10th Nayere called Na Atabia. And there are other 5 towns that were founded by them too, as I indicated. This is Binduri, which is also now the Binduri district. Then you also have Worikambo. Then you have Tanga in the Bawku West. Then you have Teshi in Bawku West. This is how the place is. Now, Nayele's jurisdiction was not only within the Bawku area. The son of Na Atabia, also called Isa, moved far to the Bongo area to found the Bongo scheme. So you can even see that Bongo is far from Gambaga than Bawku is. Okay, so this tells you that the entire area is under the jurisdiction of Bawku. So from 1721, the Mamprusies had been chiefs of Bawku. It started with Nayele, to Alibida, to Mahamudu, then to Mahama. It continued that way. At that time, the white man hadn't even come to Ghana, let alone to the Northern Territories. The white man came to the Northern Territories in 1896, so this is now the colonial history. When they came to the Northern Territories in 1896, at that time, Bawku already had a chief called Na Mahama. That is one of my grandfathers. And he was the 8th Bawku Naba, number 8. So when the white man came to Bawku in the Northern Territories in 1896, Bawku already had 8 chiefs. So there's no way someone can tell us that. I hear people saying that the chieftaincy in Bawku was started by the colonial authorities. This is not true, because the evidence as shown, tells us that Bawku already had 8 chiefs before the white man came to the Northern Territories. So the white man came and met the chieftaincy institution in Bawku, and this evidence is fully established. So when the white man came, they continued to work with these chiefs that had already existed. They continued to work with these chiefs that had already existed. And then when the white man came to, he realized that there were certain areas in the Bawku area that did not have chiefs. And these areas were tribes that were acephalous, like the Kusasis, the areas like Zebida, and then all those areas. So they proposed that they would also make chiefs in some of these areas. Bawku already had a chief, mind you. So they proposed that they would also, get chiefs for these areas so that it will help in the administration. But before that, all those areas were under the jurisdiction of the Nayere. Because the first founder of the Kosanaba, the evidence shows that when he came to the area in Kosanaba, that was even the pre-colonial times. He had to move to Nanirugu, to the Nayere, to be given certain, permissions before he could come and then settle in Kosanaba. So pre-colonial, all those areas were still under the Nayere. So the white man also made sure that they produced chiefs for some of these acephalous tribes, but they were all still under the authority of the Nayere. That is the colonial times. Until in 1932, when a proposal was made, 1931 actually, a proposal was made by the colonial authorities that they wanted a system whereby, that is what you would now call like the paramount system. They wanted a head chief that would be there, so that instead of all the chiefs in the area, Bawku, Zebila, Biduri, all of them, they used to go to the Nayere for enskinment. The white man suggested that, okay, why don't we get a paramount chief, or let's say a head chief in the Bawku area, so that he would be the one going to the Nayere to be enskinned, so that when he comes back, the rest of the chiefs around him would be enskinned under him. That was in 1931. And the white man made this proposal to some of the chiefs in the Borga area, that is the Frafra area, and they declined. All of them preferred to still go to the Nayere. But when he came to the Bawku area, they felt that they were all brothers, whether you are a Mamprusi, a Kusasi, a Bisa, a Moshi, they felt that they were all brothers. So they all accepted that, okay, they would choose one person who would be the head chief. Then when the person is enskinned by the Nayere, then they would come and enskin all of them. This is in 1931. So the chief of Bawku was unanimously selected. All of them, they willingly. And actually the colonial records show that it was something that was it was a joyous moment for all of them. And they selected the chief of Bawku. Pay attention, because he was not a commoner by then. He was already the chief of Bawku, but he was just selected to be the head chief, or what we would call a paramount chief now. But this history, unfortunately, has been misconstrued and misrepresented by some people to make it look like that is the beginning of chieftaincy in Bawku. No, it is not. Like I indicated, if you look at Science book, Science will tell you the first chief of Bawku is Nayele, and this was in the 17th century. So what happened in 1931 did not start chieftaincy in Bawku. Actually, it happened because the people loved themselves and they saw each other as one. And we are very hopeful that such a time would return, that both Mamprusies, Moshis, Bisses would see themselves as one and they live together in peace. So after 1931, it continued. The Mamprusies were still the head chiefs because they were already chiefs of Bawku. Until in 1956, when the paramount chief of Bawku passed away, or the chief of Bawku passed away. When he passed away, that was the advent of politics. Then the CPP government by then, which is Kwame Nkrumah, realizing that the Mamprugu or the Mamprugu state was not in favor of the CPP government. Actually, they had contested the local assembly elections, and then the CPP won only one. So they realized that the majority of the people there were pro-Northern People's Party. So the CPP government decided to interfere in the local politics of the area. And this was not only peculiar to Bawku. It happened in several areas across the country. That is in about 500 areas across the country. It happened in Bawku. It happened in, Sakoti. It happened in several areas in the eastern region. It happened in the Achibs. Most of the chiefs there were even, distooled. So even in Ashanti and then several other areas. So it was not peculiar to Bawku. So they came to Bawku and then decided to play politics and then disrupted the chieftaincy line. That was the first time in history that somebody aside the Mamprusies became the chiefs of Bawku. They got a CPP member to be made the chief of Bawku. It had nothing to do with Mamprusi and Kusasi. They made it pure politics. Because the man they had supposedly made the chief of Bawku, by name Abugrago Azoka, he and his father Azoka had come to Bawku in the 1940s. So there was no way they could make them the owners of Bawku if it was about chieftaincy. But because they wanted someone to play the politics, they got them, and that is how come the chieftaincy institution was interrupted in Bawku. That was the first instance when we had disturbances. So the Mamprusies decided to contest the action of the government, which was the fact that they interfered into the Bawku chieftaincy system. And then the High Court ruled in favor of the Mamprusies. But unfortunately, instead of the government to allow the Kusasis to fight for themselves, or those who were the CPP people to fight for themselves, the government again interfered, and then took the decision of the High Court to the Appeals Court, by which time they had already exiled the Mamprusi chief. This is just a summary. So when they did that, the situation was reversed. Those who were original chiefs were reversed to people who were CPP supporters. And this was in 1958. The situation continued that way until 1966, when the CPP government was overthrown. When the CPP government was overthrown, the new government realized that the CPP government had interfered in chieftaincy for the first time. So the new government reversed everything that the CPP had done. So the real or the original chiefs became chiefs again of Bawku. That was from 1967. Then everything went on smoothly until 1979, when some Kusasis got up and said that they also wanted to enskin a paramount chief. So this was the first time we are actually witnessing the concept of a paramount chief in Bawku. In 79, the Kusasi said, okay, they were also enskinning a paramount chief in Bawku. But the Mamprusis who were chief and were gazetted at that time, they did not fight. They decided to go to the High Court in Bolgatanga, and the High Court ruled in favor of the Mamprusis and restrained the Kusasis actually from acting as chief. That is what happened in 1980. Then Otumfo Opokuwari II set up a committee which came and ruled in favor of the Mamprusis in 1983. Then the Kusasis went to the National House of Chiefs. Then the National House of Chiefs ruled again in favor of the Mamprusis in 1983. All these evidences are there. Realizing that they don't have a way at the law court and then in the traditional setups, the Kusasis now decided to, as usual, seek for favor from the PNDC government, because they had key appointees in the PNDC government like Avoka, Ndebuguri, Sudia Golsi, and all that. Then the PNDC government came and then, promulgated what they call the PNDC Law 75. When they promulgated the PNDC Law 75, it came and said that the Mamprusi chief, Na Tampuri Adams, who was Bawku Naba and died as Bawku Naba in 1981, was this king. Somebody who died as a chief. The law came and said 3 years later in 1984 and said they had skinned him, which is impossible. Then the Kusasi Abugrago Azoka, who died in 1984 as a commoner, because the National House of Chiefs pronounced him as a commoner, the PNDC Law 75 said they had reinstated him as a chief. So that was what made the situation worse. Then the PNDC government constituted what they called the committee to investigate the Bawku land disputes. And then the committee investigated and found out that the PNDC Law 75 was the major cause of the problem in Bawku. So the PNDC Law 75 should be repealed. Then the PNDC government, through the assigns of the Kusasis in the PNDC government, they refused, and the PNDC Law 75 was not repealed. But fortunately, with the advent of constitutional rule, the government realized that in 1996, the PNDC Law 75 could not stand the test of law or the constitution, because it was unconstitutional. Somebody cannot die as a chief and hails from the lineage, then you say you have enskin the person. And somebody who does not hail from the lineage, then you say you have enskin the person. So they repealed the law in 1996. That is, in summary, the issues surrounding the history of the conflict in Bawku. And as it stands now, in last year, the Nayere, realizing that he is still the custodian of the Bawku skin, and he's the one who has been enskinning the Bawku since 1721, enskinned a chief of Bawku. So the only practical thing that everybody expected was that, if you disagree with the Nayere, you go to court like the Mamprusies did in 1979, but that did not happen. The Kusasi decided to wage war, declare war, and fight instead of seeking to go to court and then address these issues. And that is what has caused all these recent problems. So, in a nutshell, that is the history of Bawku from pre-colonial to colonial, then to post-independence. And all these things tell you that it is the Mamprusies that are the real owners of Bawku. They have been on the scale even since the 30th century. They have been in control of the area, and then nothing should change it as of now.